All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Session number 300 for our club. Let me extend a very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you who have managed to take the time out and join us on this very, very, very special occasion. 300 sessions is no by a mean task, and we're extremely happy to have each and every one of you with us in this journey. My name is Narayanan, and I'm going to be the sergeant at arms for today's meeting. As sergeant at arms, my job will be to lay down certain ground rules that we'll follow very religiously over the course of this particular session. Rule number one, while this invite is for you, it also means that it is for your members of your family, your pets, your children, whoever is going to sneak behind your shoulders. You're perfectly fine with that. We're happy to have them snooping around and just arousing the curiosity of what we're doing right here. So feel free to let them run around with you. We have got no qualms about it whatsoever. Rule number two, you'll find a lot of people communicating here today, and we'll be able to enjoy that only if we can stay in mute when we are in the audience mode. You can please unmute yourself if there is an invite for you to address the session as it might require. May I also request you to all of you to please keep your gadgets away from this from your machine so that there is no disturbance whatsoever. While we would like to have all of you switched on the videos, this is just optional. You may choose to switch off your cameras if in case you feel there's a network issue. Having said that, if in case there's a need for you to leave the place, your room, uh, please do so only after switching off the video so that you don't disturb the speaker who's on the screen. Rule number three, we are very, very nice people and you wouldn't want to rub anybody on the wrong side. So politics that touch upon religion, politics, sex are strictly forbidden during this meeting. As starting at times, it is also my responsibility to announce the Toastmasters mission statement. The mission statement of Toastmasters being a supportive platform which encourages each and every member to find his or her space for productive communication so that every member is being encouraged to become a powerful communicator and an able leader. Thank you very much. This is now the time for me to introduce the hero of today's session. Um, this is time for me to introduce the club president as well, who is going to take over the session uh, for the remaining couple of hours or so. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to introduce a very, very simple person who took over the reins of this club when we are right about to face a very severe challenge. But that's what leaders do. They love challenges and they're right there in the middle of any crisis. And today, we are just 1 point shy of being a distinguished club. And I'm sure under this able leadership, we'll achieve much more than what we can. The current club president, an avid reader, a humorous, an aspiring humorous speaker, an LDPN, an accomplished club coach. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome somebody who listens, not only hears, the beloved club president, Toastmaster Nitin Bhagat for you, ladies and gentlemen. Nitin, stage all yours.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Narayanan. I am on cloud nine right now because you called me the hero of the meeting. Feeling very good. Thank you so much for that. But ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, can we have some videos on, please? Can we see some beautiful faces here today? It's a wonderful Wednesday evening. I would love to see someone apart from the regular faces. So if the guests can turn on their videos for this session, make it more interactive for all of us, I would absolutely love it. All right, perfect. I see a couple of videos turning on. Hey everyone, beautiful faces. Everybody say hi. And we all wave at each other. Yes, yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so meeting number 300 for Trailblazers. Wow. As I said, I have goosebumps running all over my hands, all over the body of my skin. We became a club 5 years ago on October 2nd, 2015. We had almost 40 unofficial meetings. And after 5 long years, here we are at the 300th meeting. And our Toastmasters Club has been just like a Bollywood action packed masala movie, like a Rohit Shetty movie. We have had our highs, we have had our lows, but at the end of the day, all of the heroes and all of the heroines of the club, we all came together. We worked hard, and here we are in our 300th meeting. And it's a very, very special feeling for all of the club members of Trailblazers Toastmasters Club. Now, I see a lot of guests here today, and I'm sure some of you might not have attended what Toastmasters is. They don't have any idea of Toastmasters. So let me just give you a small brief of Toastmasters. In 1924, a man who is now a legend called Ralph C. Smedley started a small group of 5 to 6 people where they practiced public speaking. This was in YMCA. That was in 1924. And now, after almost 100 years, Toastmasters is spread across the world. We are in more than 120 countries. We are over 1 lakh in population with respect to Toastmasters community, with a very well defined but a very dynamic objective, and that is to improve in public speaking, improve in leadership, and improve in communication. And Trailblazers, which is our club, is one such Toastmasters club. We operate out of Oracle in PTP and OTH, and we used to meet every Wednesday. But of course, since the pandemic broke out, we have been meeting on Zoom in the evenings at 4:30. But since today is a special meeting, we thought, let's just have it half an hour early. And now when I think of it, Toastmasters club, joining a Toastmasters club is very similar to joining a gym. Yeah, I can see a couple of confused faces, but let me just clarify. You go to a gym and you don't know anything about what to do. You don't know about your routine. You don't know which activities to do. And in the gym, you will find someone who's a trainer who might not be specifically assigned to you, but who might just be good enough, kind enough to help you out in this journey in the gym, right? Similar to that, in Toastmasters, we also have mentors for every single person who comes in to make sure that you are not lost, to make sure that we set a path for you that you can lead on at your own pace. And just like in the gym, once you go regularly, you start building up, you get better, not just physically, but mentally as well. You are better in communication, you feel good about yourself, and you're more confident than ever. Right? Confidence is a very important thing that I have learned personally in Toastmasters. And it helps me so much in customer calls, in my client calls, and in my office. I am so confident that I can go to any group now and I can talk. I'm so confident I can go to any group and I can network. I'm so confident that I can maybe even cross the road without my eyes open. But that's not a very good thing, but I'm just saying confidence is one really good thing that you learn in Toastmasters. And we meet, like I said, every Wednesday just to learn this, to improve on this. Now, I know I've been rambling on for quite a while, and we have a great lineup of speakers here with us today. So I'm going to give the stage over to our hosts of the meeting. That is right. It's plural. We don't have one host. We have two hosts here with us today. And our hosts for today, both of them are very new to the Toastmasters journey. They have been active for only about a month or so, and yet here they are acting as the hosts of a milestone event, and that is a great thing. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome on stage our hosts for today, Toastmaster Gopal and Madam Toastmaster Shilpa.
Thank you, Toastmasters Nitin, for the introduction. So I take the opportunity to welcome all my fellow Toastmasters and our esteemed guest for this milestone meeting. So we at Toastmasters, which is a Toastmasters club within Oracle, we basically help fellow club members become better speakers. So I'm here to make you all understand how different is a regular Toastmasters meeting as compared to this milestone meeting. A regular Toastmasters meeting at Trailblazers goes off in the following way. A prepared speech given by club members, an impromptu table topic speeches which last for about 1 to 2 minutes given by club members based on any random topics, and then an evaluation session for the entire session, as well as the speeches which are given by club members who are evaluators. So the feedback given by our evaluators, when incorporated, it definitely helps us become better speakers. So today is a great day, a milestone day for our Trailblazers family, being our 300th club meeting, we plan to do it in a different way. We have two esteemed guest speakers who are masters of their trade and are here to give us a sneak peek into their world. So, interpersonal communication skills is the theme for the day. Interpersonal communication skills is one of the most essential soft skills that everyone wishes to learn. It includes verbal as well as non-verbal forms of communication. A person with good interpersonal communication skills is known to work effectively in a team. He has the ability to explain various things in a very different way, but yet in effective way. He has the ability to establish good relations with others. He has the ability to handle difficult situations, and most importantly is a good communicator. So, Toastmaster Shilpa, you look stressed. By by the way, like how do you beat stress?
Well, Toastmaster Gopal, some days are really difficult, but I try adding humor to all my days.
Oh, humor. I'm sure it would really work well with you.
Yes, humor is in fact a great way. You know, you can build relationships with the humor, you can have different perspectives, normalize difficult experiences, and have a great time bonding well with the people as well.
Okay, so what humorous do we have in store for us for the milestone meeting today?
Oh, let me introduce you to Vikram Poddar. Today, he is here as an investment banker turned HRM in courtroom comedy. You know, HRM usually stands for Human Resource Management, right? But here it is, he is a human resource manager. He has an MBA from FMS University as well. Now, he specializes in collaborating with HR community using comedy for engagement, leadership and development, and inspirational storytelling as well. He has featured in various places like NDTV and ET Now, and name all the big clients like Vodafone, Nomura, Birla, Aditya Birla. He has them all. He is also the winner of the District 41 Humorous Speech Contest in 2011. But one problem is that he has already been losing his hair all the time. Over to you, Vikram. To the stage is all yours. Have a great time.
Well, hi everyone. It's good to be here. I'm presuming I am audible, I suppose. Do I need to switch to gallery or speaker view or something like that?
It's all good, Vikram.
Yeah, okay. All right. For some reason, I'm seeing myself also in gallery view only. I'm presuming the recording is doing otherwise, so hopefully we can roll with that. It was really great. I think, guys, let's have a round of applause for this, this incredible and this challenging year. You guys have managed to do this, so I think that's really brilliant. Okay. There's a lot I'd like to say, but something I just like to share first is I think this year, the industry itself, the comedy industry, also went through a huge challenge. A lot of us obviously had this existential crisis, whether it's the end of the industry itself, for that matter. And slowly things started turning around. It was somewhere in April that we got our first online corporate show, towards the end, and yeah, it was from a bank based in Dubai, Mashreq Bank. So if ever there was this thing that even in adversity there can be opportunity, I think that was it. That now they're looking overseas because the online model is something that they are finally willing to look at. So that was a really just something that I wanted to share before I get into the more formal part of the sequence. Now, this whole thing, I find it very interesting when people say, give us a keynote address. And I'm wondering, what to say exactly. What is a keynote? What do you address? I think the person who introduced me also said something that Vikram is a master of his trade. I know some of you are thinking he doesn't look like one, which means I have exactly half an hour to convince you otherwise, or else have a very honest conversation about myself and my career choices at the end of this keynote. So I think this keynote will be as much a self-discovery for me as much as it is hopefully some knowledge for you guys. one of the biggest challenges I do face is when people say speak about something, and I wonder what to say. But since he mentioned something about storytelling, I thought I'd maybe share a story. Something just came to me recently. So it was in 2015 that I had one of my biggest engagements. One of the biggest corporate shows that I'd done up till that point. It was barely 2 years into this journey of doing comedy full time after quitting investment banking. It was, I think, just a few months that I had made it to the professional league of Western Stand Up at the Canvas Laugh Club after a series of very humiliating and difficult battles, to put it in perspective. It was 3 months after I just quit working with Veerdas at his company, A Weird Ass. I'm hoping at least company names will fly Toastmaster guidelines. I hope you understand. It's just official business. And also, on a more personal note, it was just a few months after I had broken up with my first girlfriend at the age of 30. To clarify, we were dating at the age of 30. By the time we broke up, I was 31. So there was some growth at least. I remember this event. It was happening somewhere in the afternoon in Bangalore, and of course I was very nervous. But there are some hilarious incidents that had taken place with the fitness instructor the day before, which had thrown everybody, the whole company into this is like a very big conglomerate, and this is their global conference. Okay, like everyone across the globe is there. And the global head was really psyched about what the fitness instructor had done such crazy things. They were worried what the comedian is going to do after this. But luckily for them and for me, the show went very well. It just went great. A lot of people came up, shook hands, and it established a relationship with that group, which just led to one referral after another. That's how business has grown with them after the last few years. But because it was in the afternoon, I had a lot of time. Normally our shows, the conferences and offsites end in the evening. This one ended in the afternoon. So I was just sitting, in the pub in the hotel. The HR was like, very ecstatic. You were so great. I had a drink. She said, bill it to the company. And I'm like, okay, this is good. As an employee, I'm sure she would have never told me to do that. She had told me room service is not covered. You understand? I'll admit there was a little bit of a post-breakup melancholy moment, when I felt, okay, I've just had my greatest professional triumph now, but there's no one special to share it with. It felt a little empty at that point of time. But the biggest learning I was to get was actually in the evening, when they had drinks and, I judge a company by the quality of the alcohol that is served at the offsite, and I can tell you it was good. It was black label, and there was even single malt. Needless to say, in true Indian style, the single malt got over despite having copious quantities, right? And one thing that really stayed with me is that there was this one, very senior gentleman, from the function, and he's probably at least 10, 15 years older than me. And he came up to me a little drunk and he started, talking to me, and somewhere his tone changed. He said, you said you quit investment banking to take up comedy. And then there was a sadness and a sort of hesitation in his voice. He said, यार मैंने सोचा था कि मैं एक दिन अपना ढाबा चलाऊंगा, life में. Do you think I can still do that? And it was a very strange question, coming from me for somebody who I saw as a very senior executive. I'm like, this guy is so well established in his field. And suddenly I was seeing everyone else in a very different light. Everyone else is drunk and there's boisterous, the typical offsites that happen in companies. But I was wondering whether there's a story beneath all that boisterousness, which I've been missing all those years as an employee. And I started to realize maybe there's a reason why conferences and offsites have alcohol. And also a reason why they have comedy, because maybe there's a sadness there which is not being noticed. If some of you go on YouTube, there's a stand-up bit of mine. It's called, I think, Conferences, Daru, Offsites, and Sashi Tharoor. Okay. And because let's admit it, I think the dream of every Toastmaster is to sound like Sashi Tharoor. So you can check it out. And it suddenly struck me. I just thought of this conversation 3 days ago that I was just seeing all my observations of that video were just from comedy, but that conversation was about truth. And one of the reasons why I think that person was able to share it with me is because he saw me as an external third party, right? That sharing honestly these conversations with me would not affect his appraisal, his increment, or the size of his Diwali gift hamper, right? And if you're wondering where this story is going, and I think that's where I thought about interpersonal communication, right? That it's not about hierarchy or designations or structures, right? It's very tempting to think that as Toastmasters, we can only connect with other Toastmasters, right? But here we were separated by profession, by experience of life and professional, and yet there was a sort of connection, And I feel that connection was possible because of the journey that he had made in life and the journey that I had made in life, So I know it sounds like a very TEDx thing to say, but when we talk about interpersonal communication, I can't help feeling, based on this experience, that you cannot connect with other people till you have connected with yourself first, right? It's only when you have a genuine connection with yourself can you possibly have a genuine and personal connection with anyone else. And one of the things that my journey has, if I can call it that, it feels a little pretentious, but yeah, we can call it my journey. It's that to not get caught up in one ecosystem. I went from consulting. Some of you, I don't know, possibly, it's Toastmasters. The reason I joined Toastmasters because I got laid off from a consulting firm in 2009. So I had a lot of free time, and that's how I landed up at the doors of Mumbai Toastmasters. And it was to take my life journey on a very, very different path. I connected with very different kind of people. That's where people told me I could be funny. Okay, which is something that I've never imagined. I'm sure even now you guys are wondering, there's been nothing funny in this talk so far, because that's not, I'm a pretty serious person at heart. And if you were to classify all serious people as somebody who don't do comedy, right, and all comedians as only funny people who do it, you understand there's a whole experience that you're missing out on. And that to me kind of sums up that the way of doing interpersonal communication is to end up in life that you should be intermingling with interpersons. Like, because of my layoff, I ended up in in-flight entertainment sales, straight from consulting, completely different field. It gave me exposure to a completely different kind of clientele, a different kind of workforce. And because I was in sales there, I got a sales role in investment banking. It was a very sideways sort of jump. And that's where, again, I was going to get laid off, which is a very common story of mine. There's a story which I like to share about the Thomas Cook India buyout. It happened in 2012. I was going to get laid off like almost one day before I was put on this deal, but somewhere fate intervened. I was put on that deal and things went in a completely different direction afterwards, right? You guys can check that out as well. It's on LinkedIn. It's called How Thomas Cook Saved My Job in Korea, And because I did corporate comedy out, and like investment banking out there, I was able to make it into corporate comedy when I quit to comedy. I hope you guys are getting what I'm trying to say here. And the same thing happened in my comedy career as well. When I felt I was getting stuck, I went into storytelling. And then I went into poetry, where I discovered a very different way of expressing things. It was in Hindi. As a South Bombay kid, most people think we don't even know Hindi, right? So, and in that process, I realized that I had interacted with a very, very diverse bunch of people. And I think if there's one way in which you can connect with yourself is if you connect with as diverse a variety of people as possible, because that's how you have diversity of thought. I met my second girlfriend not on a dating app. I met her at a writing workshop, right? And called Tall Tales. And I was able to attend it on a weekday because I was living a professional life that allowed me to do these things full time. So the more diversity you have in your life, that's how you actually end up having more diverse connections. That has been my experience. Businesses come from pretty much everywhere. We did a joint property with Urban Clap. That happened because somebody from Toastmasters referred me. Did something in Pune because somebody from a trekking group referred me. There were people from FMS who referred. So many different things. There's somebody from a LinkedIn pod that I'm active on who's actually now given me an engagement, to be done in December. And I think sometimes what happens is when you're in a regular corporate job, because you don't have to diversify for survival, you often don't end up doing that. As an entrepreneur, it's not an option. Unless you have tons of money which you're spending on sales and marketing, the interpersonal communication is the only way to survive. It's not a growth option, it's a survival option. And if you have that kind of pressure on you, I think it's a positive pressure that really opens up your horizons. Because the one thing that it helps you to avoid, it's a term I like to call the hegemony of peers. That we like to connect with people, right, in a group, but we like to connect with people in the same group, and sometimes that results in groupthink. And often that will make you create artificial hierarchies, right? Okay, this is a senior Toastmaster, this is a junior Toastmaster, this is a distinguished Toastmaster. Does that mean that I'm less of a speaker? Is somebody who's won a contest a better speaker than somebody who's not? But when you are in the same ecosystem, you create hierarchies where none exist. And I'm not saying that is just because you don't want to be below somebody. Being above somebody is also not something that's necessarily great for growth either. I don't enjoy having people report to me either. I wish everybody was running as an independent entity. And the way you'll be able to do that is when you're involved in many ecosystems, I've seen the same thing in the comedy circuit as well. This guy is a senior comedian. No, he's not. He has one video which is taken off. There are guys who've been doing this for years, and many of them do much better in so many other areas, and many of them are doing much better in life than the guy who's doing viral. When you see things from one perspective, you will not be able to make a personal connection with the person, because you're not seeing them as a person. You're seeing them from a very, very narrow prism of comedian or Toastmaster or investment banker or management consultant, right? For that matter. And which means what I'm trying to say is that if you want to be the best Toastmaster, that is not going to come just from being a part of Toastmasters and hanging out only with Toastmasters. You cannot be the best comedian if you just hang out with comedians all the time, only look at stand-up videos. Yes, you need to spend time on the craft. I call that part the craft, okay? That is fine-tuning the craft. But the art part of it, that comes from living a life which gives you diversified experiences and people to meet with. And to me, I see that as the source of what we like to call interpersonal communication. In this journey, I've been fortunate to interact with a very, very wide variety of people. And I must admit, sometimes I take that for granted. I realize it's a privilege. That's something that I should appreciate, because I've interacted with HR heads, with marketing heads, with comedians. I've met improvisers. I have met people who do clowning, right? So there's something I put up recently about clowning. It's a beautiful art form which allows you to bring out the purest child state of you. Like, they say that the clown nose is the world's smallest mask. Except that a mask normally hides this. When you put it on, it actually brings out the truest, purest form of you. It takes you to your child state, right? And you guys remember, as children, interpersonal, we didn't need a workshop from HR or an external facilitator. Of course, you should take Boardroom Comedy's workshop, because it's very good. That's why, and it pays my bills, right? So don't take anything to heart which affects my business. Just wanted to get that out there. But we didn't need any of these workshops, did we? As children, we didn't see what is his designation, where he's from. Okay, hey man, I like you, let's be friends. That was that simple, right? And as we get involved more and more in life, we see more designations, hierarchies come in place. We create barriers which do not exist. And in the child state, it's very pure. And I can tell you that when you're clowning, you can rediscover that child state. You could be fascinated with a light bulb for hours. You could take a pencil and run around with it like it's an airplane, right? As children, we did that. We didn't need an actual airplane, right? Today, you could get the most expensive actual airplane and still not be as happy as you were running around with that pencil, right? And that pretty much is, what this connection is about. When your resource base and your life is diversified, you don't feel the pressure to put on an act, right? It's, of course, today professionally we have to create some sort of persona, but we do that because we feel threatened that if people see the real side of us, they will judge us. They will feel we are not as happening. We are not the senior person they thought we were. But that is what also prevents us from connecting, right? We do something at Boardroom Comedy. It's called the Fireside Chat, and we've done it with some very senior people. It's like they do jokes on me, I do jokes on them. And in that process, people end up sharing stories, which creates a connection. There's this whole thing today about millennials and Gen Z, that we can't connect. There's a huge difference between ages also, that, dude, I cannot understand what this Gen Z is talking about. And Gen Z will use terms like, okay, boomer, these people are old, they are stuck in hollow structures. It's all because we've not realized that there's a simple story can connect us. In one of the events that we did, somebody in a joke only shared a story of running away from the armed forces. And this was a very senior guy. And then later on, some very young people, 21, 22 from the same team, they found the story fascinating. And now they know that guy. He's no longer just, Ashish or Mahesha or Saif or Sneha, not just an email that you CC. These are now real persons. Sneha with that story, Saif who's, hey man, you also did that same thing. Mahesha, I've also spent time in prison. I'm not saying Mahesha has spent time in prison, just an example. And if we can just create as many stories in life, I think that to me is a fairly easy way of making this work. To me, it is literally that simple. That's how we create a connection with people. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, hey, all this sounds really great. In theory, it's like living diversified life. But man, look, I'm not saying everyone has to quit and pursue their passion and all of that stuff. And also for some reason, Mr. Gopi is showing on my speaker area. Okay, so we are having very interpersonal connection at this point of time, which was not anticipated, but well, it's always great to have a connection. And I am not able to see myself at this point of time. I'm only seeing Mr. Gopi. So I will pretend that Mr. Gopi is me because we have now established a connection of that level, which is quite incredible. Um, I think for me, what I found the best about this journey is that people give me the stories. I don't have to create them. People have shared experiences. And this is where, doing something different helps. Like one of the specialties of Boardroom Comedy, my company, is that we do customized to context comedy. We don't just do regular corporate humor. We understand the industry, okay? We understand the company, and we do very, very deep dive and do very specific jokes, pulling out from that. So that's the differentiator. But there's something that I just realized at the start of this year, and it sort of blew my mind. This was in Bangalore with Solve, which is a Standard Chartered's fintech platform. And similarly, we were doing the fireside chat and the stand-up. So I was talking to the person to get some inputs. We were talking about IT, we were talking about development and coding. And at some point, the person asked me, Vikram, this does not sound like a discussion for your comedy show. It sounds like you're discussing coding and the IT industry. And it suddenly struck me that all these years of taking inputs for comedy, we were actually learning how companies work. And people were sharing this freely because we came as a comedy company, or else they would have been much more circumspect. In that process, they've given us a rich vein of experience of people, how things work. And that I'm able to take that knowledge, and the next time I meet somebody from IT or consulting or finance, I just have to say a few relevant things for them to feel, hey, this guy knows me, this guy knows our industry. And that's pretty much all you need to do, right? It's like I drop a few relevant things, like if Stella, for example, is, into gardening, and I just make one or two references. She says I'm into gardening, and I just say something which is relevant to gardening. I just need one or two terms, and suddenly there's a connection, right? Suddenly that person does not see me just as Vikram. Okay, there is something. Now, of course, maybe those are the only two terms I know. Maybe I know nothing else about gardening, but those two terms are enough to create that interpersonal connection. And I think what worked for me from, for customized to context comedy is also what works for interpersonal relationships. If you spend enough time collecting data from people, about their experiences, professional and personal, it gives you a rich vein of conversation. And you can relate to a whole bunch of people next time you talk to someone. In fact, I'd say I'm probably the weirdest person to be called for a talk on interpersonal communication, because I've been a socially awkward introvert my whole life. At this point, I'm again looking at Mr. Gopi. I'm hoping the video recording shows my face. All right, okay, that is something I'm leaving up to Nitin. But yeah, as I said, for me as a socially awkward introvert, it's always been challenging. And I would say Toastmasters helped in not just finding the right platform for public speaking, but it also in some ways helped me to become more comfortable talking to people. Because what would happen if I spoke well? People would come up and talk to me, right? We talk about sales and marketing, right? Sales is push and marketing is pull. And Toastmasters gave me that pull platform. So did not have the awkwardness of going up and talking to people. People would come up and talk, and that sort of gave me that initial comfort. And then when I took up the VP membership role, I had to actively go out and talk to people. It was very awkward for me, guys. I can tell you this much. Okay, put me on stage, talk to 10,000 people. I can do that in my sleep. But ask me to mingle with 10 people off the stage, it's a nightmare. Okay, it's terrifying. And I've never really figured that out. I get this question a lot. If you're an introvert, how can you possibly be a stand-up comedian? I've struggled for the longest time to figure out what is so different. Why am I so comfortable on stage, and why do I become this awkward creature off stage? And I have a feeling because as an introvert, for me, it's hard to fight for attention. When I'm on stage, I'm standing alone, It's just me up there. It's me with my thoughts. And if I spent enough time in creating coherent thoughts, then people are willing to listen, right? I think it's something that makes us hesitate in connecting with people, is that we feel nobody is willing to listen. But honestly, you'll be surprised, like in a stand-up open mic, it's hard. You'll often bomb, there'll be silence, but I found that nobody's there to throw a chappal at you. I mean, yes, one guy's had a bottle thrown at him, and somebody's been knifed as well. You will have some enthusiastic people in the crowd, but the crowd wants you to win. The crowd has paid money. It is the silence of a comedian bombing on stage is even more awkward for the audience, because they are not used to it. We are. I will go joke with the other comedians, feel sad about my life, question my life choices, but the next day I'll be back at the next open mic. But for the audience to see somebody feeling like that on stage is very awkward, which means it is in their interest to connect with you. The same, like if you're two people sitting in a room, if one of you is not connecting, it is equally awkward for the other person. They have no incentive for you to fail in making that connection. In fact, if you start talking to them for 5 minutes, they're like, oh, thank God, finally this person has made, I don't have to make the awkwardness of creating the conversation. This person has done that, right? And I think in a lot of ways that holds us back. Now, there's a lot of things that I could share with you. I don't want to be exceeding time. So I will only say this much. One thing about conversations is that, if you keep living different experiences, you will have a lot of content. So guys, here's an honest confession. Okay, a very honest confession. I was not prepared for this keynote at all. Okay, the incident that I spoke at the start is a LinkedIn post that I wrote yesterday, which has not been published yet. Okay, it will hopefully come out once I get it edited. But because I had written that LinkedIn post in the 10 minutes before this talk, I was able to pull that and thought hopefully that is something that will be relevant and will connect with people. I'm glad at this point I can't see too many faces, so I don't know whether that worked or failed. But having that piece written down is what allowed me to have content to speak here today, right? So if you keep putting down content, if you keep creating it, you will never run out of ways to connect with people. There will always be something that keeps you connected. And that is, I think, pretty much the source of interpersonal communication. And I spend most of my time, I think, pretty much with myself. Yesterday I had COVID in September, and it took me about a month and a half to get through all the symptoms, the lingering. I was having breathlessness, and the way I found of dealing with it, I used to do stand-up bits about it. In my stand-up shows, I was joking about each of the symptoms. I had a hearing loss, so I used to joke about how I know you guys are giving me thunderous applause, it's just that I can't hear it. Right, it's just my hearing that's gone. I'm sure you guys are applauding. I would talk about how the breathlessness would be like Shankar Mahadevan was my morning alarm, things like that. Or I would threaten people that anytime my oximeter falls below 90, I will stop breathing, and it'll fall below 90 if you guys stop laughing, right? And I think in some ways it was as much cathartic for me as it was to entertain the audience. And I spent about 2 hours yesterday at the Crossword bookstore, just reading an Archie comic, and the time that I spent with myself sort of revitalized my energies. And I think that's why I'm able to speak to you guys today. We often forget that I think we can be our own best friends, and there's so much to discover about ourselves within ourselves, that then the ability to connect with other people becomes a natural. You don't have to spend that much time on it. I struggled with it for, I would say, as much as 36 of the 37 years of my life, I've struggled with it. It's only in the last 1 year, and maybe in the things that have happened in the pandemic. So I'm loving this online format, to be very honest. In the stand-up shows also, a lot of people say they find it difficult. I love this format because it allows me to be who I am. It allows me to avoid the awkwardness of having to put up and engage with people. When I say, I don't mean that they're difficult, it's just that I struggle. And then once I'm done, I can step back and step out again, back into my own zone, right? So it's like some ways I can showcase the relevant and the most productive, part of me, right? Because that's what we are scared about, right? So this online medium is in fact like a funnel for me. I find it even easier to connect with people. I just want to leave you with this. When we talk about interpersonal communication, one of the reasons we do workshops at Boardroom Comedy is that we say that humor is the most powerful way of connecting. You know why that is? Because it's truth. Comedy comes from truth. When people laugh at the corporate shows, whether it's jokes on LinkedIn profiles or the way conference rooms are named, it's because they acknowledge there's a truth, and that truth makes people laugh across hierarchy, across designation, right? At that point of time, the audience becomes one, right? The people in a comedy audience in a public show are complete strangers. Before they came in, they were complete strangers. After they leave, they will be complete strangers. They will never meet each other again. I was the only common format. But for those few hours, for those half an hour which they are together, there is a connection between them. They don't even know each other. As an audience, they have an energy of their own. And as a speaker, you get to harness their energy and make it your own. Okay, that energy that you have on stage comes from the audience. And I think to me, in my life, the interpersonal connection that has always meant the most to me has been the connection that I have with my audience, because it happens at my choosing, and it allows me to tell them exactly what I want them to hear. It is respectful, of course, because I have to respond If they don't laugh, I know it doesn't work. So it's a very honest, there's no appraisal, there's no boss who will approve it. It's straightforward. Okay, it's brutal, but it's honest, it's transparent, and it's instant, right? So to me, I think that is the best interpersonal connection. Of if I can make you laugh, hell yeah, that's a personal connection, right? And if I don't make you laugh, well, that's a personal learning. I think that's it from me. My name is Vikram Podar. You guys have been an amazing audience. Thank you, and over to whoever the host is.
Thanks a lot, Vikram. That was, in fact, a great story. So I could see that it was not a planned story, rather it was an impromptu story, and then you just went with the flow. So somewhere, someplace, I felt that a lot of us could relate to a lot of things that you went on to say in the story. Like, for example, we all are used to lead a sort of a restricted life in our day-to-day life. So one thing is all about opening up yourself and going ahead and interacting with people. They often say that the more you listen to stories from people and you go on to read a lot of stories, somewhere, someplace, you end up writing your own story. So this is how the circle works. So for me, another thing which I learned is introverted and serious people can be a lot more humorous in life. So like, in overall, it was a really great story. So if you are okay for some Q&A, and if any of our Toastmasters and guests would like to ask some questions, we can go ahead with the session.
So Vikram, I had a question. Nitin here.
Sorry, come again?
Yeah. I said I had a question, which is you said in boardroom comedy you make specialized content for every other company, right? So is there like a set template or a set process which helps you come up with personalized content for each company?
I would say it's been a learning this year for me. That it's like, again, is there a post on LinkedIn only on this? There was a time when I had corporate shows, I would do like life would kind of come to a stop, family, nobody bother me. I'm going to be working on my material. Nobody touch me before the show. Like, it was just the show is important and everything is going to be done preparing for it. But I think somewhere it was that 2011 humorous speech, when I did it at the club level, the previous, as usual, as you can see, I was writing it the night before the contest. Okay. And I was trying to write it and I felt it's not working, and I went to a kid's birthday party and there I got the best 3 jokes from that experience. One of them still works even 7 years later in my stand-up sets. It still amazes me that not even 7, 9 years later, that joke still works, And this same HR conference, the one that I was talking about, the one that I was, gave as the example, same thing. The previous night I was working on my material and I thought I have to work, dude, this show is big. They're paying me this much. I have to get this right. And then a bunch of HR friends called me for drinks. I was in dilemma, will I be being irresponsible instead of preparing? I went and somebody shared a funny image and that turned out to be the funniest joke in the show because it was so relevant and it was in context. It was a joke about, it was something about a BST bus on which it was written something about, how to deal with fire terrorist and HR managers. Okay, I don't know where. And I realized if I had, just sat and just done my material for that show, I would not have got those inputs. So to answer your question, now I realize because the muscle is working continuously over these years, right? There's corporate shows, there's regular stand-up, there was open mics, there were Toastmaster events, there's poetry, there's storytelling. So if you're doing writing all the time, now I no longer have to sit and prepare, because the thing is that when I customize each time, a lot of comedians say, "Tu kyun customize karta hai, log itna hai?" Why? I'm like, no, I've realized now, today's customization is tomorrow's template. What I've created today, for example, I could pull out a show which is relevant to the IT industry 30 minutes without having to prepare, because the customized bits, maybe in each show, 5 new minutes were added. Now, over the last 7 years, it is now possible to do a show for any industry for that matter. And a joke template, what can I say? The setup is the important part. Once you get the setup right, that same template, that X is like Y, you could take an like comparison, for example, the difference between CTC and take home. Okay. I have a generic joke which says it's like the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, right? Okay, so I know that's going to work every time. It gets me a huge laugh. But when I start applying it in a corporate context, I can, apply it. It's like the difference between testing and development. It's like the difference between a credit rating agency and a bank. You get what I'm trying to say. When you created those templates, then those templates can be fairly easy. So each time I do put effort in a customization, next time the effort is going to be much less. And because I was in so many jobs with multiple layoffs, I've been exposed to a lot of industries over a period of time to be relatable. And then we worked with enough industries over this period, to collect data from all these companies. So I think that is pretty much the process. Does that address the question? Or
Yes, it does. Thanks, Vikram.
Hi Vikram, this is Stella here. It was quite a relieving conversation on a Wednesday, the midweek crisis. Just wanted to know, have you ever had a joke on someone and that person was in the crowd? Instead of going as a joke, did it backfire on you?
to be honest, I mean, and at least corporate show, it has never happened because one of the reasons is the jokes are never on the person because see,
Okay.
I'm like, I don't, when people say, na, or MD, you make a joke on him, like, see, I don't know this guy, I don't have the, again, interpersonal connection. You guys know him. I can't say, pata hai na, अरुण जी ऐसा करते हैं. बोले तू अरुण से मिला नहीं है, तेरे को कैसे
No, I
पता है
meant
अरुण जी?
celebrities or something, you had a joke on some celebrity and they were part of the show or something.
I think on one occasion, I have a feeling it may have happened. The person never came back to me. I was making fun of some journalist, and there was some weird reaction in the crowd, but I don't think they came. Having come to think, we've said some pretty crazy things over the years. But yeah, so far it hasn't happened. Because even the celebrities don't want to, like one time we had Hrithik Roshan who had come in Canvas Laugh Club, so, and the celebrities come, they come in a way that you don't notice and they are whisked away. That's, how it happens usually.
Sure.
On a brighter note, apparently Salman Khan had once called up one of the comedians after the roast. There was some really fun jokes, okay? And he called at 3 a.m. in the night, so it wasn't a social call. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and in India, I think people are quite touchy, right, about the topics that you choose.
No, true. Yeah, is there anyone else?
Hi, Vikram. Abhinav here.
Hi.
So I joined Toastmasters 4 years ago, but I think I saw your video about turning 30 about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
And probably that was, I don't know, I can't conclude, but that might be having a hint that, okay, I should pursue this humorous, I can become more humorous if I pursue this line.
Okay.
So I think that was your video, which probably inspired me that time.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't have a question, but I thank you so much for coming to this club. Since you have been a long journey and you have made yourself a career in humorous speech, humorous as a human comedian, and it will inspire a lot of us here. All of us here want to become more humorous, and whatever you told us today might be probably, more useful than just going to a comedy show and learning about it. So your talk will be really thankful to us. Thank you so much.
Best thing I could have got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Vikram. Can you hear me and can you see me clearly?
Yeah, I can.
So hi again to everyone. If you guys are wondering who I am in this club, I am actually from Voice of Colombo in Sri Lanka, the Toastmasters Club. It's very nice to be a part of this club meeting. And again, your keynote session was absolutely amazing. I actually have one question, Vikram. Being a humorous speaker and giving a humorous speech as well, especially with your stand-up comedic acts, how do you make sure what you're saying can be funny for the audience you're dealing with? How do you make sure that the audience is going to laugh for your jokes,
Wow, and that's so I would say when I started out, I bombed a fair bit. I think a lot of us have bombed quite a lot. In fact, I would say I was unlucky to have early success in stand-up. I made two mistakes when I first started. I remember when the comedy opened, like somebody from Toastmasters, in fact, Sachin Bhandari, and he's in fact spent a lot of time in Sri Lanka, covered some very interesting stories about the Tamil Sinhala conflict to show some positive stories also, whatever. I don't want to get too much into the politics, so whatever. But and also I thought Voice of Colombo, I genuinely thought you're a radio jockey first. Okay, I thought that's a radio station or that's your show or something like that. Okay. So he took me there, and I remember I just narrated my first humorous speech. It was on arranged marriage, and it went okay. While he did some different kind of jokes which are more rustic about Bombay, you'd say it was not very highbrow, but he got more laughs. I took it for granted that one format could work in another. And then I killed at an open mic. Things went well, and I was in the Comedy Store, the UK. That's where the whole industry started, in the Best in Stand-Up lineup in 2012. And I thought, hey, I've got 2 humorous speeches and some other bits I've written. This is going to be so easy. It was terrifying, man. It was supposed to be the high tone, getting Best in Stand-Up at the Comedy Store. It was like the ultimate. You've arrived, and I was so bloody uncomfortable, when I saw myself struggling with a lot of bits. And then at one show, which was called Rising Stars, which was supposed to be the precursor. I remember this was just after the Hyderabad Toastmasters conference. I was trying to prepare there, and I went and I bombed for 19 straight minutes, man. It was called Rising Stars, total silence. Okay, 19 minutes. So I knew that I had to sort of reinvent from scratch. It's an iterative process, that you keep writing, and then I won. So I had to start from scratch all over again, And after I quit, I found out I'm not on the Comedy Store lineup either. I've just quit to have a full-time comedy career. I'm not on the Comedy Store lineup anymore. Okay, so, and Dad was in the hospital at the same time, because things can be fun, right? God also has his own sense of comedy. So I had to really dive deep. And then when I won my first open mic, I kind of had to start from scratch. And that's when I realized that, this is much harder. And I was lucky that since I wasn't in the Canvas Laugh Club's lineup, the Comedy Store had shifted to a tougher venue called Blue Frog. This was a really tough room. Okay, very tough. But that's where my corporate jokes started working. It was a more highbrow audience. And in fact, as a Toastmaster, I think I appreciated that room more because it was a proper stage. It gave you that public speaker, sort of feeling. And because I had to do the tough rooms first, by the time I made it back to the Canvas Laugh Club, it was easy. If you make your 30 minutes at the Blue Frog, then killing at Canvas is so much easier. So I would say do the tough rooms, as tough venues as possible. And again, as diversified as possible. Something that works in 6 different places, is a good joke. And if a joke even half works in a really bad room, it's a really good joke which will work everywhere. And also because I was lucky to do more corporate shows, which is actually a much tougher audience. So over a period of time, I had to work, that much. It's like when you work that much harder, you don't realize how much easier it's going to get later on. You don't realize it at that point of time. Okay, it's pretty much that. So I wouldn't dream of strolling in and doing a keynote like this. Okay, half an hour. But that's come because I worked. I would be working over hard earlier. And taking a lot of stress about this. So it's like you take that stress early, then you can be stress-free later. I know I'm just talking a lot of TEDx type riddles. I hope I actually answered your question. I'm not really sure if I did. I hope
you actually answered my question, Vikram. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
And now Saif and I are staring awkwardly at each other. Okay.
Anyone else has a question? Okay, so I thank Vikram for a wonderful story, and I would request you to share any of your YouTube videos with the Trailblazers families so that we can all have a look at it. So
I'll just put my social media channels in the chat. I guess you guys can circulate.
Sure. That will do.
Thank you.
So Toastmaster Shilpa, do you watch plays?
Only if it is interesting.
What do you mean by interesting? There are so many other things that one can learn from the stage.
Really, this is something new. Maybe can you just elaborate more?
Well, I think that the play stage is not just for actors and directors, but for everyone who basically looks forward to adapt a better form of communication in their day-to-day life.
That's interesting.
That can be used either in a Toastmasters speech or at a workplace or any event at our day-to-day life. So our next speaker is here to elaborate the same. Our next speaker is Mr. Murtuza Kheti. Murtuza is someone with whom I have been associated with for a while, and I had an opportunity to engage with him in a play and a workshop. He is an actor, a director, a playwright, and a theater enthusiast who has been associated with the Bangalore Little Theatre for over a decade now. So for those of you who don't know what Bangalore Little Theatre is, it is one of the oldest English language theatres based out in Bangalore. It's a renowned organization known since its inception in the late 1960s. So Murtuza is a developmental sector professional who imparts theater as a form of education to a lot of people in various organizations, schools. So, distinguished Toastmasters and my fellow guest, please put your hands together to welcome our next speaker, Murtuza Kheti. The stage is all yours.
Thanks, Gopal. Yeah. Can you have a few more faces on the screen? It's nicer to look at more faces and participate. Yeah. Thanks, Rajan. Nibu, Ravindra. Okay. Toastmasters Club. So let me start with a quiz question. How many of you have heard about the Gettysburg Address? Okay, I see one. Okay, I see a lot of people who don't know about it. Abhinav, would you just want to share a bit about it?
And that's one of the most famous speeches by Abraham Lincoln when he tried to abolish slavery in US.
Okay, so this happened after the Civil War, and when he was dedicating the Soldiers National Cemetery, right? Anyone has any? Okay, I don't know if there are others who know it, but do you have any idea how long was the speech? What was the duration of the speech? Okay, it was a 2-minute speech and it had only 271 words. And the person who spoke before him spoke for a good 2 hours, speaking 13,000 words. But if anyone is to remember anything during that meeting, it is the Gettysburg Address. It's one of the best examples of oratory skills that one can find. So, what's the lesson from this? Okay, my session is going to be interactive, and I'd like people to participate. And the more people I participate, the better it will be for everyone. So, yeah. Can someone? What do we get from that?
So it's not just the time of the speech, but it's the content of the speech that matters.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone?
Maybe the speech that Abraham Lincoln had connected well with the audience more than what the other speech did.
Okay. But why would that be?
That was relevant for the audience, right? He might have spoken something relevant to them.
Okay. Great. So basically, keep it simple and short, right? That should be the objective of what we speak. And that is what the topic of my session is today. I call it Yaradu Matu, which is what usually people call when calling you on stage. They'll say, "Ivaga nimge yarad matu herak vinanti martivi." So that's how it starts. So let's do a small exercise that I have planned out for all of you. It will begin with me. Nitin, can I share screen?
Yeah, Murtuza, you can.
Yeah. So I have a short story that I have got on my screen now. Can everyone read it?
Yeah, I believe it's visible.
Yeah. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes to just read the story once. And once everyone is done, I'll give you further instructions. Are we all done? Okay, I will stop sharing if people are not yet done. Other people who are not yet done, then I can put it back up. Otherwise, we are assuming you're done. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so now what we'll do is you will be put into pairs, and Nitin will create breakout groups, and you'll be put into pairs and be sent into a breakout group. Before you go into the breakout groups, the two people in the pairs should decide on who's A and who is B. Okay, and once you're there, what you have to do is person A will tell the whole story to person B in your own words. Okay. After that, person B will tell the whole story. Will repeat the story to person A, but this time person B will make the story half the length. Okay, they will have to make it half the size. I will leave it on the judgment of the person B to decide what is approximate half. You don't have to go exactly half. Then after person B says it, it's person A's turn to make it half of what person B said. Okay, and then once more person B will go half of what person A said. Once that is done, you will wait in your groups. You will get 4 minutes to do this. You will wait in your groups. At the end of 4 minutes, you will get an instruction by broadcast. You will finish that instruction and then all come back into the main room. Is that clear? Does anyone have a doubt? 4 minutes to do twice, A twice, B twice, and then after that you'll get a broadcast message and then you will do the rest. Clear? Okay. Nitin, you can put them into groups.
Perfect. So I have created the breakout rooms and I'm opening it now. All of you will automatically go into the breakout room. If you're the only person, I request you to come back to the main room and I'll reassign you. All right. And like Murtaza said, 4 minutes and then I'll send out a broadcast message. Cool. Can I have thumbs up from everyone if the instructions are clear? Perfect. I am opening up the rooms now. Hey, Gopal. Oh, you're here. Okay, wait, let me check. Okay, I'm sending you to Abhinav's room. Since Abhinav. Okay, a sec. Gopal, Abhinav's room.
So the room which I was allocated, there's only one person, Jagdish.
Jagdish. Okay, I'm sending. All right, cool, got it. Vignesh, I'll send to room number 5, and Gopal, I'll send you to room number 12. 12. All right. Perfect. I think they all went.
Okay.
I'll just check because there are people dropping in, right? So
okay, yeah.
Somebody's sitting alone.
Breakout rooms is a full-time task for the host. It's always a.
I know. I see someone here with the name Vignesh. Are you here in the main room? Can you hear us? If you can you please unmute yourself?
Oh, yeah. I have been having poor internet issues because here I'm in Chennai and we have a storm here and it's kind of been raining.
Okay, sure. I think they're having a network problem.
Yeah.
All right. I see we have Faisal here with us. Faisal, can you hear me? Can you please unmute if you can hear me?
Yeah, Nitin, I can hear you. But Nitin, in the room which I went, there was nothing coming up. So I thought, let me just recheck.
Sure. I'll just send you back to another room which has a person sitting over there. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just 1 second. Breakout rooms. Faisal, I'll move you to. So Faisal, you will move to a breakout room now.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, buddy. All right. That's done. Jagdish is sitting by himself. I'll send him to room number 10. This is a full-time job. I will agree with you. Yeah. So in weekends, I am part of this. Okay, wait. Vignesh is here.
Yeah.
Vignesh, are you?
Yeah, I've been poor network issues, so I've been going in and out, in and out.
Okay. But I think you can see a breakout room symbol. You can just click on that. I think you will be able to join it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Murtada, someone is asking for help, so I'll just head over there and I'll
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
come back in a minute. Sure. Thank you. I'm just searching for the breakout room. Hey, folks. Anyone here? Joy, Purnima, I can't hear you both.
Nitin.
Hey, hello. I saw a pop-up saying that you were asking for help in the room, so I just came over here to check if everything's okay.
Yes, yes. Actually, Purnima is muted. I'm calling her, but I don't think that whether she's there or she can't hear me. I don't know what the case is there.
All right, no problem. In that case, Joy, I'll just send you to another breakout room.
Okay.
And you can interact with the people sitting over there.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll just send you over to another breakout room.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Purnima, are you there? If you back, please come back. Hey, Murtaza, I'm back.
Yeah, you were saying something before.
Yes. Yeah. So in the weekends, I'm part of this organization called UNI.
Okay.
We teach underprivileged kids.
Okay.
So, we have been doing it on Zoom and we can't do it in one room, right? We have to do it in breakout rooms. So as part of the leader, my task is to, just make sure the rooms are working, sending people.
Okay.
So I have thankfully some experience to do this today.
Okay. Yeah. Shall we wait another minute and then give them the...
Sure.
So the broadcast message would be summarize the story in one sentence.
Okay. All right. Got it. I'll send it at 5:40.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So how long have you been in theater?
So since 2008, I've been more active. Otherwise, in school and college, I was active.
Okay.
But since 2012, I've been with BLT acting, and since 2013, since 2014, I've been working with BLT part time. So I work 3 days a week with BLT, and then the other days I'm on my own.
All right. Okay. Someone's asking for help, so I'll just
Yeah, sure.
Come on. Sure. Hey, Joy, I'm here.
Hi, Nitin. Sorry to bother you again.
The person here left. I am sorry for the confusion. What happens is we have created the room such that there are 2 people in each room.
Okay.
If someone leaves, then you're left out alone.
Okay.
But cool. What we can do is, okay, I see someone has joined, so I'll just head over to the main room and I'll call them over here in this room.
Okay.
If you don't see anyone joining, you can come back to the main room and we can have a discussion over there, you and I.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
So the person that joined us now, has he read the story or something? Maybe since he joined now, he might not have.
That's a good question. No, let's do something. Both of us will go back to the main room and let's just stay over there.
Sure.
And we will have our discussion over there.
Okay, no problem.
All right. So you can just click on leave breakout room and you can come back to the main room.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Mahesh. Did you just come, Mahesh, or were you part of the session before as well?
He just came in.
Oh.
So I told him to just stick around until the breakout groups come back. Did you send the broadcast?
Yeah, I am sending it now.
Okay.
4 minutes up. please summarize the entire story in one
One
sentence.
sentence. Yeah.
And I can ask them to come back when they're done.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And broadcast. Perfect. So they should be getting it now.
Yeah.
Hey Jagdish.
Hey Nitin.
Jagdish, were you by yourself in the room?
Actually, Nikhil was there, but I didn't respond. Maybe he's not available or something. So, and then he left. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So maybe the master is in the room. So you both can have a discussion and he can just check.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry I'm putting you on a pedestal, but
No problem. That's fine.
So people are coming back now, I think.
yes. But yeah, until then, Jagdish and
Yeah.
Joy, since you didn't get a chance, you both can give it a go.
Yeah, Jagdish, go make it half.
Okay. So should I go twice or just
Just
once?
go half once. That's it.
Once, right? So Akbar once wanted Birbal to count the total number of parrots in Delhi. And Birbal just answered smartly that he specified a number, 4,000 and something. And he said that's the number. And he, when Akbar questioned whether something that has come outside of Delhi, and if it's something less, it should be something, some parrots in Delhi should have flown outside of the city.
Okay, all right. Okay. Once everyone's back, maybe I'll request everyone to write their story in one sentence, put it in chat.
All right, perfect. I see there are 1 or 2 rooms still open, so
Yeah,
I've just sent another broadcast.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll come back. Yeah, just 2 rooms are open. Perfect. Anyone else wants to give it a shot and maybe see if you can beat Jagdish at these?
Yeah, hi.
Jagdish calling Jagdish. Off you go, sir. All over to you.
Everyone's back? Or?
I see just, again, there's still 2 rooms still open.
I think we can call them back. I think it should
Okay,
be.
perfect. I'll close the room in that case. Yeah, they'll be here in 2 minutes. The rooms are closing.
Okay, I'd like to see more faces, please. Theater person without an audience finds it very boring.
So here we are back again.
Perfect. Everyone is back. That's great.
Okay. As and when you get time, just type in chat your story in one sentence. I'd like to read it at leisure. But while that is happening, we just we'd like to listen to your first reactions, talk about your experience. What did you feel?
I was just telling my fellow participant, I got a bedtime story for tonight.
Yeah, others? What about the others? Toastmasters Club and I hear silence. A little difficult to digest.
My name is Narayan from, I was put into room number 3 with another gentleman, and it was absolute fun. In fact, we finished the story in about 8-9 minutes, and we were doing bantering kind of stuff. So that was nice. It was excellent. It was nice to chat with someone whom I never met before. So it was nice to break the ice there. Thanks for the opportunity, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, hi Murtaza, this is Faisal. So actually, I was in the room with Sarwar, and frankly speaking, I missed some of the story in between when you guys narrated, and then he was of great help to narrate the whole story, and then I picked it up from there, and it was a good exercise. We completed it in a very short time. That's how it worked.
Okay. Okay, so were you really able to go first level half, second level half, third level half, and fourth level half? Was that possible?
Yeah. So from a first to second, yes. Third and fourth, yeah, it went a little bit. I mean, we can't say that it was 100%, 50% of exact word. But for, let's say, second level, we were able to do that. Yeah.
So how did you decide that this is half and this is?
Basically from the what we were doing, we were watching the time limit, how much time it is taking to narrate that. So for the first round, when it was completed by me, it was a half. And for the second two, it was not that, because I was watching the time and it was not.
Okay. So you looked at time. Were there any other strategies which others used?
Basically, I felt time, watching time will be the right way, because otherwise we can't count the words. When you are narrating something, you cannot count the words, so time is the only constant where we can. I would say time is the only variable which we can monitor perfectly. So that's the reason we took the time.
Yeah, but did anyone use any other method?
Context also in terms of what you want to tell. Instead of going that long shot of once upon a time that happened, the crux of the story started coming in by the end of the session.
Okay. So
yeah, basically what Stella told. Yes, for us it was more of not about the time or not about exactly halving the story, but it was more about putting the entire content in few minutes, or maybe just by summarizing it. And at the end, when we were asked to summarize, we had already done that. So it was like making the long story short.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else that you did? What did you actually do to make it shorter?
We actually removed lot of a lot of ways of storytelling, how it was like, just to give the exact message as to what that story was telling. So we removed those telling moments, like where Emperor Akbar thought, aha, this is the way I can outwit Birbal, and how he spoke to the sky, and all these things we removed. So we removed some emotions from there.
So you kind of dissected it to see which is the essentials and which are the non-essentials. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after that? You decided this is the essentials, this is the non-essentials. The first round, it was easy that way. What happened in the second round?
In the second round, it was more of bringing together what we had already done in the first half. So it was more of summarizing it, more than rather halving the story. We actually summarized and put the better words and try to relate or narrate it in a better way, so we get our message across very clear.
Okay. Did anybody try anything different? Others?
Shortening the sentence.
Okay. Well, can you give me an example of what you mean by shortening the sentence?
Yeah, like okay, like Akbar called Birbal to his house and asked about the parrots. So instead of that, I directly went like Akbar asked Birbal to count the number of parrots in Delhi.
That's almost like taking out the inessentials.
Yeah.
Great. So why did we do this exercise? Why did I decide to do this exercise here? Why did we do this exercise?
To learn how not to beat around the bush.
Okay, to learn how not to beat around the bush. What happens when that happens?
Trying to be learning to address the core right away.
Okay.
And that too without losing the essence.
So stick to the focus without losing the essence.
Yeah, I think that's what I could get.
Yeah. And why is this important?
Use less words.
Okay, use less words.
And
Why
make the maximum impact.
Why is this important?
It kind of relates to what you told in the beginning. Like there were 2 hours of story, and but what made an impact was a story within 2 minutes, which had just less number of words. So maybe it was this workshop was to shows that everybody can try and do something similar to that. It's not that it is very essential to have a great talent behind that.
Okay.
It's about rather being smart rather than following a discipline of going about in a speech.
Okay. All of you are looking at it from the speaker's point of view.
Also, I think audience does not have a very high rate of retention. They tend to get distracted and forget things if things are too long. So trying to keep it concise will help them keep the entire thing intact in their mind.
Yeah. I think for me, that was the primary reason that as an audience, I get bored if somebody just goes on rambling for hours. I mean, I still remember this incident in college when I was in college, and we had this chief guest at our cultural fest who comes and says, I know how people take hours to talk. I'm not like those people. I will talk only for 2 minutes. And we were also glad when he left the podium, it was 2.5 hours. And we had tried clapping in between to, as college students, we tried clapping, we tried doing all sorts of things, but he was just too thick-skinned. I don't remember a single sentence of what he said, excepting that first line that he spoke of during that day. Okay, so fine. Let's just go back to our experiences. I've just shared one of mine. Do you remember any speech which you might have heard or you might have given where you feel it didn't work with the audience, right? Let's reflect upon that and try and see why did it not work. Can we just have a few answers? Look back at speeches
Okay,
you
so
or your own.
let me go ahead and get that. Yeah. So yeah, that was my icebreaker in Toastmasters 4.5 years before, where I gave my icebreaker. It was about to be about myself, and as you can see, I talk real fast, and the icebreaker speech is supposed to be somewhere between 4 to 6 minutes. And after the 6 minutes, I could see that there was absolutely no reaction in the audience. They just all clapped. They said wonderful, but I could instantly feel that I couldn't connect with them properly. I was like that. Yeah. So that was my very first speech, and I'll never forget that moment.
Do you know, if you look back, do you know why that didn't work? Do you have any idea of why that didn't work?
I think I did not think about connecting properly to the audience. Given the opportunity, I was so nervous. I just want to get the job done that day rather than trying to experiment. That was my very first speech.
Okay.
And, now done that before in time in my life. I used to do some customer presentation, but that was different. That was a different game altogether. But this was like I just said something that ran for about five minutes, and I was just back to my seat immediately. And I realized that it was like more about establishing connect to the people whom you're wanting to be connected to. And, and I also know that it's an art. It takes time.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm sure if we really think, we'll get a list of things, which would be a nice thing for everyone to reflect on and maybe remember during their speeches.
Rajan, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah, content was too hard to be digested by the audience.
Okay.
Because you need to give some background, right? Because Toastmaster one speech after another, right? So happens, right? People give, right? So the proper background not been given, or it was maybe too fast, and it may not be like it happens, right? And then it could not content was not digestible to the audience.
Why do you think content is not digestible? What are there would be some reasons for it, right?
It's like if you will bring out some common topic like social issues, the work lifestyle related, or if you pick up some specialized thing, right? Like suppose that microprocessor like detail or something. Just for the example, I'm telling you the detail probably which common people does not know, right? Then it's difficult for them to relate the topic with the content,
Okay.
right? Because it's only 5 minutes for them to connect, relate it, understand it, and then tell that like, yeah, it's understood, well understood, and then finally while concluding, it means all dots are got connected to them.
Okay. Anyone wants to add anything?
It wasn't mine, but it was the first stand-up comedy that I attended, and I was like, waiting to laugh. And that person who came over and he started off, it was more like a sob story about why his life's career choices and his choices in general was pathetic. Instead of laughing at it, at the end of the session, you actually feel really bad. You feel sympathetic towards him, that he lost his job, he lost his girlfriend, all that. It did not evoke that response from the crowd. So I genuinely felt bad for him. And he said it was his first attempt at stand-up comedy, and he's actually quit his corporate job and all that. So I went up to him and I said, you know what, it did not bring that laughter in us. So he said, I really worked hard on what he wanted to speak, but that did not, have that connect. So in the hindsight, maybe people are kind of used to these kind of jokes. A lot of things, content available now. So it was not unique. Maybe that's why I did not connect. But it was a very bad experience as part of the audience. We did not connect at all. Yeah.
Vikram says, Stella, I think you met me in 2013 by mistake.
No, it wasn't Vikram.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other thoughts? Anyone else?
Also having like a lot of content in the body. Maybe you, instead of explaining 3 things in detail, you explain 5 things, but only one-liner. So the audience sort of gets lost in just trying to process the 5 things, which sort of works in such a way that they forget the takeaway that you had for the entire speech in general.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is a lot more on the content. Let's just take a step back and
one more point I want to add.
Yeah, sure.
Like when we begin the speech or impromptu speech, right? Then something called the user hooks we use, right? So if we missed out to put that any kind of user hooks, then means the audience tend to get lost.
Okay. So what I was going to was something like what Rajan just mentioned. If we look at the craft of telling the story, right?
Yes.
Where do we see ourselves having missed out during these speeches? That if you're talking about what we have done, or where did the speaker miss out when it was he or she who was speaking? What do you think are those things that really make a difference in the way you connect to the audience?
Probably recent speech one I gave on the pranayam. 5 minutes speech was there. So I thought this topic is not very general. Everybody doesn't do yoga and all, right? So the background of my Zoom, like I changed it, like showing that 8 rungs of yoga, so that like at least the moment people have seen my background, right, they understood, okay, something related to that is going to come up. After that, I started with user hooks, like means how to remove anxiety and all. So that I put it, and then the body, and then I concluded it well. So I saw that like people understood. Means they were telling that like initially I was thinking like what you are going to talk about it, this one, but slowly after seeing that your Zoom this theme, I came to know that like, okay, something related to this will happen. When you started speaking, then I thought like, okay, I could relate. Okay, this is something is there. Although like in 5 minutes they cannot understand the complete details, but at the high level, whatever I wanted to convey, right? So that they got it. So that's what they conveyed.
Okay. Yeah. Any more thoughts?
How about the energy that you have on stage? If let's say you're not energetic enough, people might not be interested in listening to you. So I don't mean like dance on the stage or something, but just sort of have a little bit of charisma on stage, and that might just help. the audience focus on you.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about passion, like the story which you narrate, right? It should have a proper good passion, so that like the audience will see the flow completely.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, if it is a very monotonous thing, right? If somebody
Yes,
just
repeating the same thing.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about what we are going to do with theater and what you can do, what you can't do.
Means like
I'm gonna
energy level up and down, like when it
Yeah.
should be like at the climax, when it should be moderate, when it is like tone of the voice, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
very
I was just
difficult.
wondering if Nitin meant that if you yourself are not really energetic, that it doesn't really flow back to the audience, right? Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
But that Nitin, it comes actually like when you are presenting a real story, means like something which you are doing it, right? Then you can bring more reality, closer to reality while speaking, right? Because I was doing the I do pranayama every day past 2 years, so I know ins and out of this one. So it was I can bring the passion on that one. But somebody we take some topic like which we don't know much about it, we researched it, we prepared it, right? Then that passion will lack, like we will have a lack of confidence also, like whether somebody will ask some question, or if he did whatever I'm narrating, it's not the correct enough, or it's not 100%, this one we are not sure about 100%, then that energy is very difficult to gain that momentum completely.
You have a point there. But then I would ask you a question. Why even talk about something you were not really passionate about?
Yeah, for prepared speech is fine. Prepared speech, like you have a time and you can choose your topic of them. But when it comes to table topics, right, you don't have any choice, right? You have been sarcastically put it to the topic. So now, how you will make out of that? Very difficult.
Okay, great. I think we've got a lot of thoughts and points. More or less what I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Maybe I'll ask you one last question. What are your takeaways from this workshop, from this session?
I think your whole workshop was related to story, completely how to understand, it's art of storytelling, crafting a story, right, basically. And then we have whenever we give a speech or table topic, right, we have a concluding part, right? Concluding section is always concise and should be concise and crispy, right? So when we make the long story half by half and then half again, right? So that way, like we learn that process of concluding something. So that was takeaway for me.
Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, it's that as a speaker, you're always passionate and you want to talk more, but at the same time, you should respect the fact that the audience might not want to hear so much of details and just need exactly what is required in that particular talk.
Okay. I think 2 takeaways are good enough. I'm sure others have, but surprisingly, they're very quiet. But yeah, that's what I had to share. Thank you.
Well, that was an interesting workshop, Murtuza, for us, because most of the time when we ask someone to address us, it's always about hearing more from the person, right? But today we saw that we were able to, show it practical what we wanted to deliver, tell us all about. So we were practically able to, reduce the story, talk about, make it concise, and we were able to really take away this message, which is very important to, respect everyone's time, and it is very important to give our message concise and clear. So this was very interesting workshop for us, and it was a nice icebreaker because we didn't know the other person who would be joining in the breakout room, and it was very fun, very much fun to have a short or a quick conversation to just know the other person in. So it was really fun to see everything you put up in just a very short period of time, and we really appreciate that. So today, overall, to see we had two great speeches. One from Vikram, he has already left us, but it was just amazing to see how Vikram also talked to us about, connecting to ourselves before even connecting to others, and how we can have diverse connections, which will help us to see things in different perspective. And Murtuza's workshop about how you can be concise, how you can be clear in what we are already talking and what we are already sharing with others. So this was the great sessions that we had today, and I would just hand over the stage back to Nitin, the presiding officer of the day. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shilpa, and thank you so much, Murtaza, for taking time out today and just teach us a small thing or two. Before I close the session and before we drop, if all of us can turn on their videos for one last time, we'll take a quick picture just to mark our memories for this milestone meeting, and then we'll close the meeting formally. So I'll just wait for all of you to turn your videos on, and then we'll take a picture.
While we're waiting, I'd just like to add I'd like to talk about a program that Bangalore Little Theatre has. It's a program called the Monologue Circle, and I think that might be something that might be of interest to the Toastmasters here. It's a monthly event where we give out a theme for a talk, for a speech, which can be a script from a play or a monologue from a play, or if someone is keen to write one, they can write a monologue on that theme, and then they get to present it in the circle. It's a small circle of about 10 people, and every month the first 10 people are chosen. It might be a good place for you to try speaking other than in your regular spaces. So if you are interested, just if you're on Instagram, like the Bangalore Little Theatre Insta page, or on Facebook, the Bangalore Little Theatre page. And every month we send out a notice with the registration link for the talk, for the circle. So whenever you feel like the theme connects with you and you want to participate, you can always register.
Thank you, Murtaza. Absolutely. It's Instagram @ Bangalore Little Theatres. No special characters, nothing. It's a very simple thing to spell out. So head over there. And I think I went to the page recently. I think in the link in the bio, you will find the Google form page. So you can just head over there and you can register if you want to.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mahesh, John, Purnima, Shagar, if you guys can turn on your videos, and I will take a picture.
I am trying. So this is kind of a new laptop for me. So I don't know how to give the settings to that one.
No problem, Mahesh. No problem.
Sure.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No issue. The rest of us, huge smiles and maybe a hand action, a thumbs up, something to show that we had a lot of fun today. Yes. All right, taking a picture in 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming here today. In the middle of a weekday, you're still here, which shows that, if you're really passionate and interested in learning something new, you will make time for it. So thank you so much for coming here. I know we have been a very shy crowd today, but if any of you have a feedback, if you want to thank the speakers, now's the time. Kindly unmute yourself and the stage is all yours.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal. We have our area director with us, Toastmaster Nikhil. Toastmaster Nikhil, you've been very silent. Anything you want to tell us? And you want to bless the club? We would love that.
Nothing like blessed. The club is already very much blessed. In fact, I am blessed having this club in my area. I'm so happy that such fantastic talent exists in our area. And I have been silent mainly because of my poor throat. So I'm really sorry for that. Amazing session, Nitin, and entire Trailblazers team. I attended first half entirely, and second half I had some internet issues. But a great 300th meeting. And I hope to, since now that I am here and you have asked me to speak, I hope all of you to see tomorrow at Western Digital's 50th meeting as well. We share a very, very special bond. I believe Narayanan, Abhinav, lot of people from Trailblazers is the one club which helped us start. They were the ones who conducted our first meeting, our demo meeting. So it's always really special to be here. And I'm so happy that we together are finishing one milestone each. Hope to see you everyone tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Nitin.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Thank you so much for coming here today. With that, we come to an end of the 300th meeting. Again, one more time, thank you so much for coming here today. The meeting is officially over. If you would like to stay back and hang out and chill out with us, the bridge will be open. Otherwise, you're free to drop if you want to. Thank you so much.